Hey everybody, this is Will C, and today I have a story for you guys. Every week I'll write a brand new story based on a random word given to me by a random word generator, and I'll write it in just an hour. From there I'll condense it down into a short YouTube video where I'll go over the story and the literary techniques behind it. This week's word was agony, and this is what I came up with. Vera walked through the decrepit door back into her rundown apartment after another fruitless day. She tiredly stepped over the papers strewn about the floor and walked towards the table, nearly knocking over a large stack of bills and textbooks. Opening her computer, she breezed past a bunch of advertisements and scanned for any acceptances, but she found none. She wandered over to her fridge, hoping that there would be some food in there, as if it would just magically appear. Disappointed, she grabbed a small piece of chocolate from her purse and slumped down in her chair. As she began to send out more resumes, her eyes slowly wandered to the book on her nightstand. She set aside her computer and instead tried to focus on the book for just a little while, just for something else. The first few pages showed Vera's smile that she hadn't had in a really long time. That was the day they met. She didn't even want to go to that party, but somehow Sophie had managed to convince her. He was all over the next few pages. They were always together, and she was always smiling. It didn't matter that this apartment was small, it was theirs. And after a few more pages, dozens of photos of Vera showed her in white. She hadn't yet begun to show it yet, and neither of them even knew. Vera then turned the next page, knowing full well what it had. Hundreds of pictures of her newborn. The small feet, the cute clothes, that adorable smile. Every single page was filled up with her and Henry. Just the two of them. One was of when Henry had crawled into her laundry basket and started throwing her clothes everywhere. They decided to put on an impromptu fashion show of them just wearing these dirty clothes in all of these random, awkward places that made both of them laugh with delight. Another was of Henry in his pirate costume. He insisted on wearing it on his first day of school. Vera didn't want Henry to feel embarrassed about it, so she decided to drop him off in a pirate costume too. They were the coolest family in the first grade. A third was of Henry's middle school graduation. Vera had gotten into a fight with the family about sitting in the first row. Before she was escorted out of the ceremony, she snuck up and snapped the perfect picture of Henry walking across the stage. She was determined to be there for him. As she finishes flipping through the book, she remembers all the good times that they had had together, and her eyes start to swell as soon as she finishes, because she knows that this could be the end of their story. Henry slowly walks into the room and gives her a gift, though. It's a second photo album, and on the first page is his first paycheck. He knows it isn't much, but the mere fact that he wants to help means so much. It'll be tough getting through it, but they've gotten through tough times before, and at least they'll have each other. That's all they've ever had, and that's all they'll ever need. Thank you guys so much for watching. The word agony definitely gave me a bit of difficulty, but I think it turned out pretty well in the end. So the first words that I think of when I think of agony are isolation, inescapable, and all-consuming. When a character experiences agony, the character will have hit their lowest point with no foreseeable way of remedying the situation. However, I didn't want the story to just be sad. I like telling stories that leave my audiences hopeful, if not happy. Although tragedies can be told beautifully, on the day that I chose to write this, I wanted to give my audience hope. And with everything going on in the world right now, I think people could use a little hope. For the source of sustained conflict that I wanted my character to deal with, I chose the financial route. If my main character had lost her job and couldn't find another, she would feel dejected. Providing for yourself is very difficult, and to make it even more difficult for my main character, I decided to make her a single mom. Parenting is one of the hardest jobs on the planet, if not the hardest, and doing it alone makes it even harder. This also provided a useful literary device for me to give the audience hope, because her child could provide hope that I wanted to write. One of the biggest challenges that writers face is conveying information interestingly and effectively. Whether you're creating entire fantastical worlds or just setting up familiar everyday life, you need to make sure that the audience knows the necessary information, but isn't bored while learning it. You typically want to avoid entire encyclopedia entries of just explanatory text, because this bogs down your story. The best way to deliver this sort of information is to do it in a way that develops the character. For example, I could have said that Vera and Henry are financially struggling, or I could have said that Vera is raising Henry on her own, but then that wouldn't have nearly the emotional beat that this story contains. Instead, at the beginning of the story, I described Vera's movements. We get to learn about her current physical state, and information about the environment is just kind of slipped in. Additionally, when we see her flip through the photo album, we don't just learn the information from the backstory, we get to see her reactions to it once again. We get to see how she feels, we get to empathize with her, and that just makes for a much more compelling story. In order for the ending to be somewhat hopeful, the child provided the perfect opportunity. The story could be about emphasizing familial bonds, and all of Vera's hard work before the story and at the beginning of the story would have been validated by showing what it has accomplished. I went back and forth trying to decide what the child should be like, but I eventually decided on having a young adult or a teenage boy so that the audience could draw parallels between the father and the son. Where the father could not fulfill his responsibilities to the family, the son could demonstrate maturity and try to provide for the family as best he can. He can try and fulfill those responsibilities. This makes the ending have this really nice sense of symmetry, and it makes it just that much more impactful. Thank you guys for all of your support. It means a lot to me. If you want to see me come up with these stories live, please check out my Twitch stream. I'm also raising money for Feeding America's COVID-19 response. They are providing meals for kids who rely on schools for those meals, but can't anymore now that schools have gone online. If you could donate $1 or $2, it would really go a long way. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz, and we'll see where the next story takes us. Thanks everybody.